Antonia and I shared a little kiss by the wall.
In the summer of 1977, David Bowie was standing at the studio window in West Berlin when he saw two people kiss below him, right up against the Berlin Wall.
Walked around the back of the studio where we could actually see the control room, and I guess we were visible too because Antonia and I shared a little kiss by the wall, or close to it.
One of them was his producer. The woman was not his producer's wife. Bowie used what he saw to finish a song he was stuck on. It became the biggest record of his career. And for the next 26 years, he let the whole world sing it without ever saying what it was actually about. Bowie came to Berlin to disappear. By 1976, Los Angeles had nearly finished him off. Berlin was the first time in years that I had felt a joy of life and a great feeling of release and healing. Cocaine, paranoia, a diet of milk and red peppers, whole weeks he couldn't account for. Berlin was the one city left where nobody bothered the rock star.
At the time. The spirit of Berlin is strong. It beckons you to come and it rewards you, even when it was occupied and surrounded by concrete walls and barbed wire.
He rented a flat above an auto parts shop, took the bus, drank in ordinary bars. The studio he picked sat barely 150 meters from the wall. Hansa Ton Studio. People called it Hansa by the Wall.
It was a fun studio because you were in Berlin, and Berlin is a fun city. But then 150 meters away was Russian guards with big guns. The danger did create the sound.
Studio 2 was an old concert hall from before the First World War, and the control room window looked straight out over the Death Strip. Concrete, floodlights, an East German guard tower with a soldier and a mountain machine gun staring back at the building. As Robert Fripp once said, in the mid-1970s, Berlin was a terrifying place to be. At Hansa Studio, you looked out the window and there was an East German machine gun turret. Bowie liked that. He said the menace outside the glass felt like a kind of protection. If the machine gunner wasn't a Bowie fan, he could have sprayed us. Most of the albums that became heroes got made in that room.
People went crazy over it. The fans loved it. The record label didn't like it. And that made us very happy. We had success for being completely radical and completely different.
With Tony Visconti producing and Brian Eno bending the sound into stranger shapes.
This is also where Edu, I said, aren't you afraid of the guards? He said, nah. He took this lamp, he went, and David and I jumped under the desk. You know.
The title track nearly went out with no words at all. Bowie had the music. He had that huge aching backdrop, Robert Fripp's guitar howling over Eno's synthesizers. It was much harder working on Heroes than Low. The whole thing was evolved on the spot in the studio. The lyrics wouldn't come. He wrote, gave up, threw it away, started over. Eventually, he did what he usually did when he was stuck. He cleared the control room for a few hours so he could work alone. Visconti left with the young woman, and the two of them went out for a walk.
Backing vocals on Beauty and the Beast on the Heroes album. She was in the studio. And David couldn't concentrate with us in the studio, so he said, would you two mind taking a walk?
Her name was Antonia Maass. She sang jazz around Berlin and fronted a band that was recording at Hansa around the same time. Visconti got to know her, liked her voice, and brought her in to sing backing vocals. Later, she would translate lyrics of Heroes into German for the European single. There was a problem. Visconti was married. His wife was the Welsh singer Mary Hopkin, who had topped the charts a few years earlier. And here he was, in a foreign city, heading out for an afternoon with somebody else. They stopped in front of the wall and kissed. Finished the lyrics. As we walked in front of the Berlin Wall, which was very close to Hansa, we stopped and kissed.
It was right down here, like where Antonia and I stole a kiss.
Just there.
Yeah, right there. And then David was here smoking, and he said, okay, and he wrote the third verse, and we got in the third verse.
At that moment, a lyrically frustrated Bowie was looking out of the studio's control room. So there was Bowie, stuck on his song, watching two people hold on to each other in front of the ugliest backdrop in Europe, guns over their heads, a whole state built to keep people apart. They kissed anyway. That was the thing that unstuck him. He went back in and wrote the lines everyone knows now. I can remember standing by the wall and the guns shot above our heads, and we kissed as though nothing could fall. People treat Heroes as the great defiant love song. Crowds wrote it back at festivals. It played in Berlin when the wall finally came down 12 years on.
Of course, the wall had to come down, obviously. But for a while, as Iggy Pop has said recently, the wall was beautiful.
And sitting underneath all of that is a married producer and the backing singer stealing an afternoon caught through a pane of glass by the man turning it into a lyric. I am immortalized in a David Bowie song.
Kind of like a cat who ate the cream kind of smile on their face. And I said, what's up? And they said, well, we saw you. Saw me. He says, yeah, we saw you kissed by the wall. And it made it into the song.
When the record came out in October 1977, Bowie talked about the couple by the wall, but he never named them. He kept them blurred on purpose. I saw two lovers standing by the Berlin Wall, and his German watchtower stood high above them, manned by armed guards. Just two lovers nobody could place. He was covering for Visconti, who was still married, saying who they were would have wrecked the marriage, so Bowie said nothing. In an interview for Uncut, Tony Visconti said, "Because I was married at the time, David protected me all these years by not saying that he saw Antonia and me kiss by the wall." He went on saying nothing through the Visconti's divorce, through the 80s, through the 90s. One of the most picked apart songs in rock had a real story sitting inside it, and the man who wrote it simply wouldn't tell it. He gave it up in 2003 in an interview with performing songwriter. He was almost casual about it. "I'm allowed to talk about it now," he said. "I wasn't at the time." The lovers were Tony and a German girl he'd met in Berlin. It was very touching because I could see that Tony was very much in love with this girl, and it was that relationship which sort of motivated the song. Then the story stopped being clean. A German writer named Tobias Rutter was working on a book about Bowie's Berlin years, and he tracked down Antonia Maass. He asked her about the kiss by the wall, the moment Bowie and Visconti had both turned into legend. She said it didn't happen the way they told it. There was no romance going on during the hero sessions, she said, and the timeline the two men described didn't line up. No way was it us. That leaves three people whose accounts don't match. Visconti remembers the kiss. Bowie remembered the kiss and got a masterpiece out of it. The woman they both point to says no. Maybe two men buffed up an old memory until it shone brighter than whatever really happened. Or maybe Maass, looking back across decades, just didn't want to be a supporting character in someone else's affair. There's no way to settle it now, and the people who'd know are telling different stories. What nobody argues about is the window and the song Bowie pulled out of whatever he saw through it. The only heroic act one can pull out of the bag in a situation like that is to get on with life and derive some joy from the very simple pleasure of remaining alive, despite every attempt being made to kill you. Thank you for watching, and give me some more ideas in the comments. What do you think about stories like this? Maybe you have an unknown secret about some rock star that we could make a video about.